Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother, Dr. Abu Isa. I hope, inshallah, all of you are well. This is a follow-up video to the one I did recently, in which my good friend and brother Jibreel al-Romani uploaded with respect to child sexual abuse and trauma. And I just wanted to follow up the previous video with some further information. Inshallah, we should be beneficial to you all. And it relates to some data and also a study that was published in the British Medical Journal in 2015, I believe. I'll try and post the link to this, inshallah, in the video comment section. And the study, the title of the study is Physical, Emotional, and Sexual Adolescent Abuse, Victimization in South Africa, where they looked at prevalence, incidence, perpetrators, and locations of sexual abuse. So the background to this study was that physical, emotional, and sexual abuse of children, they recognized that this was a major issue in South Africa. And obviously South Africa does have a large Muslim population. So they recognized that this abuse resulted in severe negative outcomes for the survivors. And to date, so this was in 2015, they didn't have any studies that used data directly obtained from community-based samples of children to investigate prevalence, incidence, locations, and perpetrators of child abuse victimization. So the aim of this study was basically to investigate the prevalence and incidence, the perpetrators and locations of child abuse victimization in South Africa. And they used a multi-community sample. So in terms of the methods of this study, they looked at 3,515 children in the age range 10 to 17, 56.6% were female. They were interviewed from all households in randomly selected census enumeration areas in 2 South African provinces. A child self-report questionnaire was also completed at baseline and at 1-year follow-up. And subhanAllah, they had an excellent retention rate of 96.7%. So what were the results that they found? So there was a prevalence rate of 56.3% for lifetime physical abuse. So out of the 3,500 odd children, half of them reported physical abuse. And within the last year, 18.2% reported physical abuse. Emotional abuse was reported to be 35.5% lifetime, and in the previous year, 12.1%. And lifetime sexual abuse was 9%. 68.9% of the children reported any type of lifetime victimization, and 27%, so 1 in 3, reported lifetime multiple abuse victimization. What the study identified was that the main perpetrators of abuse for physical abuse, the primary caregivers and teachers, so those individuals within the family would be classified as primary caregivers. For emotional abuse, they found it was primary caregivers and relatives who were the perpetrators. And for sexual abuse, it was girlfriends, boyfriends, and other peers. So they concluded that this study, which they conducted, basically found high rates of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. And as a result, they've used that to implement targeted and effective interventions to prevent incidents and re-victimization. So this is, I thought it was a really good paper published in the high impact journal, the British Medical Journal, kind of highlighting some of the issues around the prevalence of abuse. I've tried to find some specific Muslim studies, epidemiological studies, but I've not been able to so far. But inshallah, if I do, I will share that with you. Okay, so that kind of should give you some evidence-based kind of background to this issue. The other thing I wanted to mention also was how societies are dealing with this issue. So in the UK, where I'm from, we've got something called the NSPCC, and I'm sure you guys who are based in the UK will know about this. So that's the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. And in 2018, they published a report. The author is a guy called Mike Williams, and they did some evaluations working with the community to prevent child sexual abuse in the home. And what they basically found was that, or they concluded that there are 4 steps to the prevention of child sexual abuse within the home. Because like I mentioned in my previous video, unfortunately, a lot of the time the perpetrators of child sexual abuse are within the family home, the primary caregiver, uncles, cousins. So the NSPCC, they basically came up with this 4-step prevention program, and they found that the CSA prevention, CSA stands for child sexual abuse, sex abuse prevention programs need to help mothers or primary caregivers overcome the challenges to identifying risk and taking action if they are to be successful. So the findings they reported was that mothers needed to take 4 steps to get to the point where they were able to take action to reduce the risk of CSA. And these 4 points are: number 1, increasing understanding about abuse, how and where it happens. And this is one of the reasons that I'm doing this, is to educate the Muslim community, because the evidence shows that if we understand the issue of this epidemic of abuse, then we're more likely to be able to effectively address it and target it. And again, Jazakumullah khairan to my brother Jibreel for bringing this to the attention of the Muslim community. Okay, secondly, accepting the possibility of abuse at home and in the family. So like I mentioned, this is a very sensitive issue, and a lot of the patients most of the patients I've treated for this, unfortunately, the abuser has been a family member. So we have to accept the possibility, and then the action needs to be taken. Third, accurately assessing the risks posed to one's children. So always being vigilant and making sure that we don't trust any random person and leave children alone in the company of adults. So this continuous risk assessment and vigilance is very, very important, because what I found is a lot of the times families take things lightly, they're not vigilant, they leave children for long periods under the supervision of individuals who probably should not be trusted. And obviously it's a fitna as well, there is shaitan at play here. So prevention is better than cure. So we need to really be vigilant about this. And then finally, lowering known risks by negotiating with family members. So at each step, what they found was mothers faced emotional, intellectual, and social challenges. And some mothers were able to overcome those challenges, and some were not. So what they concluded was it's not enough to focus solely on improving parents' knowledge and confidence in order to prevent child sexual abuse, CSA. So this traditional approach may fail some children if the emotional and social barriers to identifying risk and taking action are not addressed. And in that report also, they've given a quote from a Somali sister who, I'll read this quote out because I think it's very interesting. In the past, I knew the subject existed, but was not fully sure and did not fully understand the extent of it. Listening and watching a film that was made by the NSPCC made it clear that child sexual abuse happens within the Somali and other communities. Seeing the DVD has had a huge impact. To hear a story from someone who experienced abuse is completely different. It's more live, seeing a person talking about themselves. So I think this is a very insightful comment by our sister, one of our sisters. Inshallah, I hope this was beneficial because it's something that we need to address, and I'm hoping, inshallah, that there'll be further work that Jibreel and I can do to address this. And please, I'd be happy to get feedback. And until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.